Hi everybody, welcome back in another episode of Dev Talk. In today's episode we will do a spotlight. We will be diving into the rabbits, seeing what the characteristics are and how they play. So Jeremy, as always, please give us some more insight into the rabbit. What kind of position do they hold in the game?
Right, so the rabbit faction is meant to be a very flexible faction and a slightly aggressive faction. So if we take a look at the cards here, you'll notice that some of them offer the surge keyword, and surge means that they can attack other animals immediately the turn they come into play. Normally you have to wait. So this infantry has the opportunity to do that, and also the saber. If you use that to defeat an animal, it'll grant somebody surge, which can be quite powerful under the right circumstances. And the flexibility is also found in, for example, the bombardier or the artillery guy over here. You can either deal damage to an animal or a stronghold, or you can do both for a certain cost. And this sort of makes it very a more flexible mechanic or more flexible faction depending on the situation. And then what also adds into the flexibility is the arrive ability of the War Council over here, which allows you to basically bounce an animal back to your hand. So if it's wounded, you might want to return it to your hand, because a wounded animal being returned to your hand loses all of its damage tokens on it. So then you can reuse the ability again. Obviously this also works on cards from other factions that you might be playing.
Of course.
So there's some flexibility. It's a bit of an underrated card, I feel, but in the right situations it can lead to some very interesting combos.
Right, as we will see in a moment.
Right.
But due to the flexibility, and especially from the arrive abilities of those earlier cards mentioned, they can pack a punch early game, but they're still convenient later game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might not have the support in your support area to actually pay for those earlier game, but in the late game, it's usually possible.
Right. So we also created play situation in game to highlight this even more, right? Sure. So let's dive into that.
Yeah. So I'll show you a quick example.
Yeah. So I've set it up. We're playing with the rabbits, and they're accompanied by the snakes and gorillas, just for flavor. But here's the situation, right? So we have the bombardier already getting pounded, only one health left, and also General Greycoat, the champion of the rabbits, is lying here already doing battle, but also nearly death. And we also have our hand, and in our hand we have the saber and the War Council.
Sure. So, and we're at 5 power here. So in this situation, if we also look at the opponents, they have a couple of guys on the board.
The huntsman and tigers.
Exactly. So in this situation, I would probably first want to attack with my artillery. So and then I would attack the enemy stronghold. So I still get 2 damage in, and then he would be
bound.
Yeah. So then he's exhausted as well.
Yeah.
Right. And then I am going to return him to my hand by playing the War Council over here. So
play this.
Yeah.
And just for purpose sake, I will tap it, but
yeah. And then we would return this guy back to our hand.
Yeah.
And we still have 2 power left over, so then I would play him again. There we go.
Wow.
And we would use his arrive ability, and we would pay the 2 support to do both. So we can deal 1 damage to an animal. So in this case, we would deal 1 damage to her, and then we would also deal 1 damage to the enemy stronghold.
Right.
And then both of these guys are exhausted, but it's a little combo, and you can also do that with other cards from other factions, of course.
Right. And even this is one playstyle, right? I mean, the flexibility also shows you choose now to do the bombardier. Right. I could also have saved General Greycoat and put him back into play again. Really great. Well, again, this was the spotlight for the rabbits. I think there's one final message. As always, I'm really curious, how can they synergize? What kind of animal factions would you play with rabbits?
Right, so I think the rabbits are a well-rounded faction, and the flexibility of also returning cards to your hand. If you're playing a faction with a lot of powerful arrive abilities that have a big impact, I think that's a good combination. And the chameleons might also be interested in working with the rabbits because they want to play a lot of cards. Basically in one turn, or the new deer as well. And if you can then return all the cards that you played to your hand, you can perform those combos again. So that's a good pairing.
That's a good pairing. I think we have found our victim for next week. We'll be diving into the chameleons. All right, guys, that was it. Thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions, please let them know. And otherwise, see you next time.